All right, the last unit was specifically about positive and negative numbers on a number line. Today we're talking real world, which that phrase is overrated. Real world. What is the real world? It's I guess more like, I think of it like what you see in life. Where would you see positive, negative numbers in life? All right, so here's an example. Many of you are football fans, not all, so I apologize, but we know about the lineman scrimmages being 0, and then if you gain yards, it's positive. If you lose yards, it's negative. Another place you can see it is elevation, so above sea level and below sea level. We also know about money, credits and debits. So that's what this assignment is all, or this unit is all, this day is all about. I can write real world numbers as integers. This part of the lesson is a little difficult on your own. It will be more interesting for you and maybe lead to more understanding if you're actually in class for this one. Here I want you to read it silently, and I don't know what words you know and what words you don't know. So I want you to take some time to write down some words that you know, what words you don't know, and then I will go through some of the vocabulary after you do that. All right, so here's some vocabulary that might be useful to know, and I'm just going to go through them. Here's another one, received. All right, so received, if you receive something, you get it, okay? He gave the cashier to deposit. Deposit means that you're putting it into the bank. So if you're putting it into the bank, that would be something that is positive. Received is positive. Credited, the banker credited his new account. If you credit something, that is positive as well. And gave him a receipt. A receipt isn't positive or negative. I hope you know what a receipt is. You should always keep your receipts. It just shows what you have done. A week later, Tim deposited. So again, that means you're putting into the account. You're adding to your account. He earned as an allowance. Earned means you're getting it. So that's very important because this whole idea is deciding what is positive and what is negative. So then he withdrew. If you withdraw something, that's a negative. You're taking it out. You're taking it away. Think back to what we have talked about your accountability project, the checkbook project, where you had your character and you're keeping track. If you put something in, that's a credit. If you take something out or withdraw it, that's a debit. So if you withdraw, anything that you're withdrawing is a negative. You're taking it out. If you get charged something, that's paying out. So that would be negative as well. So credit, deposit, received, those are all positives. Withdraw, debit, charge, those are all negatives. So I don't know what you have here, but if there are any words here that you did not already know and you needed to know, please look them up if I have not explained them and put them in the I learned column. Again, this will be better if you're doing it in class, but you can do it by yourself. What you would do by yourself is number the events. So you're going to pause it again, writing the number above. For example, the first thing that happened is he received $150 from his mom. So you're going to go through the events, numbering the order of events. All right, this is what I did. He received $150. Then he opened a savings account, and then he deposited that amount into the bank. So the banker credited his account $150. Now some people might have written all of this as the first thing to occur because it's the same $150. If you did, if you said that this whole thing was the first thing, that's okay. Then he deposited $25. he withdrew 25, and then they are going to charge him $5 for that withdrawal. All right, so I want you to write each individual description as an integer and then model it on a number line using an appropriate scale. So what that means is looking at what numbers we're talking about. If I'm going up to 150, I'm not going to number my number line by 1. That would be a pain. So thinking about what an appropriate scale is. So for here, numbered, opened a bank account with 0. So he opened his account with 0. So my number line model, I'm going to start with 0. And I might even, because I don't have to, I don't know what I'm going to do next because it was my first event, I might even just do this. That probably wouldn't be so smart, but I could. And notice I have equally spaced tick marks, and I am numbering the opposites. So negative 10 and 10, negative 20 and 20, negative 30 and 30. I would like you to please see if you can do the rest of these using the number line and the integer. All right, so here are my number lines. First, if I'm making a deposit, that's a positive 150. So plus 150. Please remember, if the number is positive, you do not have to put that. Matter of fact, I probably shouldn't have. I probably should have written it just like this, without that positive or plus sign in front of it, because we know it's there. We assume it's there unless there's a negative sign. So this should really be 150, and this should really be 25. Now my number lines, I needed to get all the way up to 150, so I numbered by 25s. And so I put because I was graphing on a number line, I first set up my number line, and then the 150 is right there. So I put that closed circle right there because that's the point I'm talking about. That's the quantity I'm talking about. Same with the credit of an account. A credit of account is a positive 150, so I write 150, set up my number line, and I put a closed circle right there at 150 because I'm talking about that exact point. Make a deposit of 25, so deposit, remember, is positive. So my number, my integer is 25. I numbered by 5s and put that closed circle right at 25 because I'm talking about that exact spot. The bank makes a charge of 5. Well, a charge is negative, so my integer is going to be negative 5. So I set up my number, and now I need negatives. So I'm at negative 5 right there. And my last one, he was $35. So if he withdraws 35, I have to count. I counted by 5s, but going to the left of 0. So these are all negatives. And here's my negative 35. All right, temperature is another place where you commonly see integers because we have above 0 and below 0. And in the United States, we usually see it as Fahrenheit, although the Weather Channel all of a sudden has started putting it in as Celsius, and I have to figure out how to change it every time. So everybody else uses Celsius in the world. We use Fahrenheit. So here is a very blurry thermometer that shows the Fahrenheit and the Celsius. The boiling point of the water is 100 degrees Celsius. Where is 100 degrees Celsius located on the number line to the right? Well, here is 0. If this is Celsius, here's 10, 20, 30, 40, 50. So 100 degrees isn't even here. It would be here, but doubled, so way up here. This one only goes up to 50 degrees Celsius. So However, because it is a positive, it's above 0, the integer that goes along with that is 100, because it's a positive number. So I want you to pause and take a moment to read through these questions. Really think about them, talk about it with a friend if you want, and see if you can answer them and then come back. All right, let's see if our answers agree. I said the temperature shown in Fahrenheit. I drew a line here, and it goes through 100 on the Fahrenheit and just about 38. If this is 30, every tick mark must be 2. 38 degrees on the Celsius part. So 100 degrees Fahrenheit is the same thing as 38 degrees Celsius. So the freezing point of water, it shows it right here, is 0, and it is 32 degrees. I hope you know that if in Fahrenheit. So the next one, if your body temperature is 98.6, which scale are we using? Fahrenheit. If it was 98.6 Celsius, it would almost be to the boiling point of water. So that'd be really, really, really hot. So we know that they're talking Fahrenheit. And does 0 on both mean the same? No, 0 degrees Celsius is freezing point of water, but 0 degrees Fahrenheit is 32 degrees below the freezing point of water. So definitely two different things. We still have to have a 0 though as our beginning point. It's just important to name which scale you are using. Another place you see and hear about integers is talking about above sea level and below sea level. So sea level is that normal level of where the water should be. So if the scuba diver is 30 degrees below sea level, and the sailor is at sea level, and the hiker is 2 miles above sea level, let's write integers. Well, if the scuba diver is 30 feet below sea level, that would be a negative 30. We don't say negative 30 feet below sea level because that's like redundant, negative and below. So you have to say 30 feet below, which is a negative 30. The sailor is at sea level, so he's at 0. That's our beginning point. And the hiker is 2 miles above sea level. Well, since we're talking feet in the first one, I'm going to say this is the integer that goes with that because we're talking feet. Remember, you don't have to put that plus symbol or the positive symbol. We're assuming that it's positive unless there's a negative in there. Pretty easy, huh? All right, so let's actually write out a vertical number line like we did the horizontal. You have to be comfortable with both. So the hiker is 15 feet above sea level. Well, if we are at sea level, if we're talking about sea level, that's going to be our 0. So I'm going to put 0 on there. And then since I have to get up to 15 and down to 10, because I'm looking ahead at my next one, so if this is sea level, that's my even point. This would be 5, 10, 15, 20. And then I'm going to go the opposite direction. And remember, below 0 or to the left of 0 are my negatives. All right, so the hiker is negative 15 feet above sea level. Sorry, I said negative. The hiker is 15 feet above. Sorry, it's getting late. I'm getting slap happy. So it's right there. So the integer, remember integer, a positive or negative number, we're not going to put that. We don't need that. We're just going to say 15. A diver is 10 feet below. So here's where the diver is. Here's where the hiker is. So the integer that goes along where he is negative 10. I know some of you don't actually pause the video, they just see what I'm going to say, and you don't actually even take notes sometimes, but I really think this is important for you to look at every single word and place it in the correct column and see if you're right. This vocabulary part is so very important. And I know that you could probably even find a place to put this in your language arts portfolio for language, that whole vocabulary thing. So please pause, fill this chart in, and then come back and check if we agree. All right, how did we do? I have gain, credit, deposit, above sea level, receive over here. I didn't have one to choose for above 0, but that would have been over here as well. All of these mean a positive number. For my negative numbers, I have loss, debit, charge, below 0, withdraw, owe, I don't know if I said that right, below 0, and then below sea level. The one that was on my list that didn't fit in either place was exactly sea level. Exactly sea level is not a positive or a negative, it's just 0. So I left that outside of the box. Did we agree? So again, this is your checking for understanding. I want you to pause and write an integer that represents the following situations. If you don't get this, you might need to re-watch the video or come to talk to me. So look back at that chart and see if you can figure out if is it going to be a positive or a negative number. Then come back and check. Okay, take a quick moment to check your work. Company loses. Losing means it's going down. It's a negative. So that number would be a negative. If you earn it, it's positive, so just 15. Jacob owes his dad. If he owes, it's negative, so that'd be negative 10. The temperature the sun surface is about, we know that's really, really hot, so that's going to be a positive number. The temperature outside is 10 degrees below 0, so below 0 is negative. A football player lost, so if he lost 7 yards, that's going to be a negative 7. Scuba diver was 30 feet below sea level, so that would be negative 30. Below sea level is negative. The next, I'm hoping that your story is not like mine, because why would you be thinking of walleye? But describe a situation that could be modeled by the integer negative 15. So I said a walleye was swimming 15 feet below the surface of the water, where 0 represented the surface. So that's my story. What story did you come up with? All right, that's all for notes. Again, this is a pretty easy day, just positive and negatives in the real world. So please let me know if you have questions. The assignment should go fast. All right, we out.